Story 1.
Am I the asshole for telling my parents they need to place their next kid for adoption? My parents have 4 kids already. Me, 17M, my younger sister, 13F, younger brother, 12M, and youngest sister, 13F. My parents have relied on me heavily to take care of my siblings. Started when I was still too young to do much, but they'd put them in my room if a nightmare happened, and after each sibling was 6 months old, they started sharing a room with me until they were 3. Then it was getting me to prepare something to eat for my younger siblings. It was also staying home with them while mom went shopping, and over time it evolved. I help with homework, I make sure they're awake for school, I walk them to school since I don't have a car, I feed them, and most of the time, I'm the one they come to if they need help with something. My parents will drop them off at birthday parties or to friends' houses. They'll take us out for family experiences, but admittedly expect me to keep an eye on my siblings. My parents provide the food and house and clothes. I provide the emotional stuff. I don't love doing it, but I got so used to it that it became second nature. I'm still the person my youngest sister comes to if she has a nightmare or is afraid of anything during the night. My parents learned they were pregnant again in February. They told me and my siblings last month. It was very much talked about like I will have the baby with me in my room for the jump and should learn how to independently change diapers and stuff. I made it clear from the jump that I wasn't raising their next kid for them. I told them I had more responsibility to my 3 siblings than I should have ever had. But I wasn't going to skip my own life to raise an infant from the start. My parents were shocked. They tried to get one of my younger siblings on board, but they said no way. They didn't want to be responsible like me. My parents returned to me with the topic and asked what the fuck they're meant to do, and they never expected me to reject a sibling like this. I said I reject child raising another one of their kids. Not a sibling, but also I'll be out of the house in 7 months. I won't be around the new sibling as much, and the relationship might not be the same. I told them I don't want the same relationship either. I don't want to be a parent to another sibling. They made it pretty clear they don't want to do the actual child raising, and they're living a nightmare over this. When the topic came up during the last week, I told them they need to place the baby for adoption, since they won't have a good childhood with nobody wanting to raise them. I told my parents it would be the kindest thing to do if they refused to raise the baby themselves. My parents accused me of treating adoption flippantly, and they were sorta outraged. I would rather they place the baby for adoption than for me to step up and raise this one too. AITA.
I think he is not an asshole. What do you guys think? Comment below.
Story 2.
Wibta for spending time with a random kid in the hospital? My daughter is in the hospital due to organ failure from an eating disorder. I am fortunate enough to be able to stay in the hospital with her. There is a girl, Mila, 15, in the room next to her with an intestinal disorder. She's been here for about 3 weeks now. She always leaves her door open so she can talk to anyone hanging out by her room. I decided to start talking to her because I'd never seen her with a visitor, and she's really a sweet kid. This is her 6th hospital stay since she got diagnosed around Thanksgiving because her meds keep failing. The hospital is 2 hours away from her house, and she's one of 5 kids, so her mom isn't able to come more than once or twice a week, and her dad hasn't visited at all. Over the next few days, she'd call me into her room when she'd see me waiting in the hall, and I just started going to her room when I couldn't be with my daughter. We talk, play cards, board games, and I run some small errands for her, like picking up her Target order, washing her clothes, getting snacks, etc. Yesterday, I was playing cards with her when her mom showed up. Mila introduced me to her, and her mom asked why I was in her kid's room. I explained that my daughter is the room next door, and whenever she needs some space, I spend time with Mila since she spends so much of her time alone. Well, Mila's mom was pissed with the nurses for letting some random woman in her kid's room and with me for criticizing her parenting. All I said is that she spends a lot of time alone in her room. Apparently Mila is autistic, and that meant she wasn't capable of inviting me into her room. I had no clue she was autistic, and that me going in there makes me a predator. I told my husband about this, and he agrees that she's overreacting, but he thinks I shouldn't be in a random kid's room.
I think she is not an asshole. What do you people think? Comment below. Story 3.
Am I the asshole for allowing a kid to sit in my car? I, 36F, usually have time to drive my daughter to the bus stop every morning before work. Last week, where we were, It was -11 wind chill. There is a kid, 12 to 14 middle school aged, that comes down to the bus stop as well. I do not know him, nor his parents. This is relevant to the story. On Friday, when it was -11, he came out in nothing but a thin pullover. I felt like I couldn't ethically allow a kid to stand out in such cold weather when I had a warm car he could sit in. He took my offer and sat in my back seat while me and my daughter spoke. He kept his AirPods in and didn't say much other than saying thank you. Buses were running approximately 15 minutes late as well, so nobody really should have been out in that. However, yesterday while I was walking my dog, a woman came up to me. She asked me why I took her son into my car. I explained that the weather was well into the negatives and he was not wearing a coat and the bus was quite late. She told me to never do that again and that what I did was incredibly creepy and to leave her son alone. I was taken aback. I just offered the kid a warm place to sit and didn't even speak to him. I feel bad, because of course I never want to come across as creepy or overstepping boundaries, but I also feel like if the roles were reversed and I was unable to take my daughter to the bus stop and this mom offered her a place to sit, I would be thankful. I feel bad for doing something I thought was nice. Is this weird? AITA?
I think she is not an asshole. What do you people think? Comment below. Story 4.
Am I the asshole for refusing to teach a kid how to swim? I, 23F, go to a swimming pool once or twice a week. It's a way for me to do physical exercise and to take my mind off school or just life in general. The pool that I go to has 2 pools, one for fun and one for real swimming, if you see what I mean. The real pool has 2 different sides, one where people swim seriously and one where people learn how to swim. I normally go to the serious part. You aren't supposed to stop in the serious one, or to go if you can't swim well because it's pretty deep. 4 meters, I think. Yesterday, I was swimming as I usually do, and at some point I start doing backstroke. At one point, I feel my hand hitting something, so I turn back to see what it was, and I see a kid that was about 6 or 7. I apologize for hitting him because I didn't see him, and tell him that he's not supposed to stop in this lane because other people might hit him too. As I talk to him, I notice that he isn't swimming really well and is struggling a lot. I decide to get out of the pool with him and look for his parents. After looking around the pool for a while, I find his mother. At this pool, if you're accompanying a child, you can get in for free if you don't swim. And that's what the mom did, so she wasn't swimming and was waiting while looking on her phone. I told her that she should look after her son because it was pretty dangerous for him to be in such a deep pool when he couldn't swim very well and that he could get hit by swimmers. She looked at me a bit annoyed. She said, "It's okay, he's just a kid." I told her that I wasn't upset at him and that I was just concerned for his safety. She told me that if I was so concerned, when I saw a child struggling to swim, I could have helped him and taught him. I simply said that it wasn't my role, but she sort of insisted, said that she saw me swimming pretty often and asked that I teach her son. I told her that I wouldn't because 1, I'm not a swimming instructor, I have 0 training for this too. I don't want to be responsible for the boy's life. If anything happens, it's on me, and that's more pressure than I want. 3, I'm not getting paid to do that. And 4, I come here to relax, not teach kids. She told me that it wasn't nice that I wasn't helping her because she couldn't teach her son. She can't swim. And I was a good swimmer, so it wasn't difficult for me. I know that I could have helped and maybe at least taught him the basics for like an hour. And a part of me thinks that I should have, but also I had my reasons for refusing. I'm not sure if that makes me a bad person or not. AITA?
I think she is not an asshole. What do you people think? Comment below.
Story 5.
Am I the asshole for crying in front of my kid? Not the a-hole. Okay, so I, 36M, am trying to raise 2 emotionally intelligent kids, hopefully unaffected by the issues that messed with my childhood and carried through my adulthood. So I have done my absolute best to break down the whole guys don't cry bees. But obviously I don't cry in front of my kids, cause that's weird. Unfortunately, I broke this rule of mine yesterday. I know it's not an excuse, but I was tired and I was stressed. My daughter's bed decided to break the other day, so I had to fix it over the weekend, and work's been messy at best. I was talking with my son, 12M. Basically, the conversation was about him and how he was going with his school life and friendships. One thing led to another, and I was just so happy and proud about how well this kid turned out and pleased with myself for not being like my own dad so he could talk to me about this kind of stuff. Anyway, I started crying. My son got sad and started trying to cheer me up, and I cried harder because damn, what a good kid. Anyway, I thought that was an okay interaction because it ended with my son feeling fine and I didn't think he was too affected by the whole crying thing. However, this morning my wife has been very angry with me and how I could have traumatized my kid by doing that, and he's only 12. He doesn't need to see his dad crying. She said I was an ass for doing this to a kid. What she said made sense and I'm feeling pretty bad about it now. I don't really know what to do. I didn't think it was that bad, but my wife thinks differently. AITA?
I think he is not an asshole. What do you people think? Comment below.
Subscribe for more interesting stories.